Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive, the place where we take that stack of sources you've shared, filter out the noise, and really pull out those high-value insights you need to get smarter faster.
And today we are tackling well, a modern classic. It really shook things up in how people think about money. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
That's right. So our mission today isn't just a summary. We want to distill the core, maybe counterintuitive principles, the real financial intelligence that kind of challenges the usual advice.
hmm
We're focusing on the lessons from that famous contrast between his two dads, the highly educated poor dad, who, well, struggled financially, and his wealthy, maybe more street smart mentor, the rich dad.
Yeah, and the whole book really hinges on Kiyosaki's main point. He's pretty blunt about it. He basically says the main reason people struggle financially is because they have spent years in school but learned nothing about money.
It rings true, doesn't it? Schools, they teach you academics, professional skills, they train you to be a good employee, which means you learn how to work for money. But they just don't teach you how to, like, set things up so money starts working for you.
Exactly. And that failure, you could say, is kind of embodied by his two dads. His
Sure.
poor dad, super respected academic, PhD, scholarships, the works, but always stressed about money, left bills behind.
Right.
And then rich dad, didn't even finish high school, but became one of the richest guys in Hawaii, built a massive fortune, left millions.
And their advice was just worlds apart. Poor dad saying, play it safe, avoid risk. Rich dad's like, no, you got to learn to manage risk.
Yeah, or the house. Poor dad thinks it's the biggest asset. Rich dad, he scoffs, calls it a liability.
Okay, we'll definitely need to dig into that one. But yeah, this tension, this conflicting advice, that's where Kiyosaki argues the shortcut to financial intelligence lies.
So let's kick off with lesson one, maybe the most visceral one. The rich don't work for money.
This starts way back, right? When Kiyosaki was just a kid, 9 years old, great story. He and his friend Mike get left out by some rich kids. And they go ask his educated dad, hey, how do we get rich? And poor dad, he can't really answer, so he says, go ask Mike's dad, the rich dad.
And rich dad's first lesson, it wasn't a lecture, it was an experience. He had the boys work for 3 weeks straight in his little stores,
Doing what exactly?
dusting canned goods in these dusty superettes for, get this, 10 cents an hour.
10 cents. I mean, even for the 1950s, that sounds deliberately low, exploitative almost.
Oh, yeah. And Kiyosaki's poor dad was furious.
Oh.
Told him, demand 25 cents or quit. He's exploiting you.
Yeah.
That's the standard advice, right? Unfair pay, demand more or walk.
Sure, makes sense.
But rich dad, he saw it completely differently. When the boys finally confronted him, ready to quit or demand a raise, he said he was giving them a taste of life.
A taste of life. How so?
He said life kind of pushes you around. And the second you start blaming the low pay or the boss or the job, you're trapped. You'll spend your whole life just chasing a paycheck, working for money.
Oh, okay. So the low pay was designed to provoke a reaction, but not the one poor dad suggested.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really philosophical almost. Rich Dad said real learning needs passion, like a mix of anger and love. He argued that fear and desire are the two big emotions controlling most people financially.
Fear and desire.
How? Fear of not having enough money, not paying bills, maybe getting fired. That keeps you showing up to the job you might hate.
Okay, yeah. The fear trap.
And then there's desire. Or greed, maybe.
Ugh.
Wanting the nice things money can buy, so you work harder, get a raise.
And then spend it, probably going into more debt for nicer things.
Precisely. That's the cycle. That's the rat race. Fear keeps you in, desire makes you chase more, but you never actually get ahead. You just become, as he put it, a slave to money.
So how did Rich Dad break that cycle for them?
With the ultimate test, he offered them nothing. Zero pay for the next 3 hours of work.
Whoa. Okay, how did that go over?
It forced them to stop thinking about the paycheck. They had to use their heads, what he called their most powerful asset, to figure out another way to make money right there, right then, without relying on him for a wage. They had to, invent a solution.
Okay, using your head instead of just reacting to salary. That's a powerful idea. And it leads perfectly into lesson 2, right? The need for financial literacy.
Yes, exactly. And the core rule there, the really famous one, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep.
Simple but not easy.
Not at all. And keeping it, according to Kiyosaki, starts with rule #1. You must know the difference between an asset and a liability. And the goal is simple. Buy assets.
And his definitions are super basic, Almost childlike, but really critical. An asset.
Puts money in my pocket,
And a liability.
takes money out of my pocket.
Okay, seems straightforward enough, but then comes the big controversial point. The house.
Ah, yes, the house controversy. This is where he really diverges from conventional wisdom.
Right. Most people, like his poor dad, think their house is their biggest investment, their main asset. But Rich Dad called it a liability. Now why? That feels wrong to a lot of folks.
Well, sticking strictly to his definition, does your house put money in your pocket every month? For most homeowners, the answer is no. You've got the mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, upkeep, repairs.
Okay, yeah, money's definitely flowing out.
Exactly. So purely from a cash flow perspective, which is Kiyosaki's laser focus now, it takes money out, therefore liability, the potential appreciation down the road. That's speculation, not current cash flow.
I see the logic there. Focusing purely on the flow, it's a different way of looking at it than just net worth.
Precisely. And if you look at his cash flow diagrams, it becomes really clear. For the poor and middle class, income mostly comes from a salary.
Right, the paycheck.
And that cash, it flows straight out again through expenses and paying for liabilities, the mortgage, car payments, credit card debt. It's a cycle, an endless loop.
And that's the rat race we mentioned, driven by that fear and desire, fear of being broke, desire for stuff.
Mhm. And Kiyosaki points out, what usually happens when someone in the middle class gets a raise?
They upgrade their lifestyle. Bigger house, newer car, more debt.
Exactly. Desire kicks in, spending increases, often on luxuries bought first, which are usually just new liabilities. The cycle continues, just maybe at a higher level.
Okay, so how did the rich operate differently according to this model?
Their income doesn't primarily come from a salary. It flows from their assets. Things like businesses they own but don't necessarily run day to day, income-producing real estate, stocks, bonds, intellectual property.
Stuff that generates money for them.
Right. Those assets put cash flow back onto the income side of their statement. That surplus cash can then be reinvested.
To buy more assets.
Bingo. The money starts working for them, creating a virtuous cycle of wealth building, not just paying bills.
That makes sense. And it sets up the next strategic step, lesson 3. Mind your own business.
Yeah, this isn't about quitting your job necessarily. It's about shifting your focus. Don't just focus on your profession, your income column. You need to diligently focus on building your asset column.
Mind your own business, meaning your assets, not just your employer's business.
Precisely. He uses that great McDonald's example. Ray Kroc is the founder.
Oh, yeah. What was that again?
He famously told a group of MBA students, "My business is not hamburgers." They were probably confused. He said, "My business is real estate."
Whoa. How so?
The hamburger franchise was just the mechanism. The real business was acquiring prime real estate locations under those golden arches. The franchisee essentially bought the land for Kroc's organization. The location was the real long-term asset.
That's a mind-bending perspective shift. So the advice isn't quit your job, but rather...
Keep your day job, pay the bills, but use your spare time and resources to consciously build real assets. Businesses that run without you, dividend stocks, rental properties, royalties from intellectual property, notes.
Things that generate income passively.
Yes. And Rich Dad's advice was to treat every dollar that goes into that asset column like an employee that works for you 204/7, trying to make more money.
I like that image. Okay, so you start building assets. What's the next hurdle or advantage?
Well, once you have assets generating income, you bump right into lesson 4. The power of corporations, or as Kiyosaki calls it, the corporate secret. This is where the rich play a different game, legally and financially.
Okay, sounds intriguing. What's the secret?
It starts with understanding taxes. Kiyosaki claims taxes were initially meant for the rich, but eventually, through what he calls the Robin Hood fantasy, the burden shifted squarely onto the middle class.
The very people who often vote for higher taxes on the rich ended up paying more themselves.
That's his argument. The rich, he says, didn't just sit there, they adapted. They used the legal structure of the corporation.
Which is just paperwork. Right?
Essentially, yeah. He simplifies it as a file folder with some legal documents. But that folder gives huge advantages, 2 main ones.
Okay, what are they?
First, corporations often have lower income tax rates than individuals, especially high-earning individuals. But the real game changer is the order of operations.
What do you mean order of operations?
As an employee, you earn money, right? Then the government takes taxes out first. Then you spend what's left over.
Yep. That's how my paycheck works.
But a corporation,
Yeah.
it flips that script. The corporation earns money. Then it gets to spend money on legitimate business expenses. Then it pays taxes only on what's left, the profit.
Wait, hold on. So things like a business car lease, insurance, maybe even certain travel or meals if they're legitimate business meetings.
Exactly. They can be paid with pre-tax dollars by the corporation. You, as an employee, pay for your car lease or a meal with money that's already been taxed.
That's a massive difference in purchasing power over time. Exponential, really.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Plus, the corporation provides legal protection. It separates your personal assets from your business liabilities. The rich learn to control everything through corporations, but technically own very little personally. It shields their wealth from lawsuits and creditors.
It's a whole different level of financial strategy that most people just aren't taught.
Absolutely. Which leads us nicely into lesson 5. The rich invent money.
Invent money. Okay, that sounds like magic. What does he mean?
Huh, not quite
Uh,
magic, but it's about creating opportunities, not just finding them or waiting for them. Kiyosaki often says something like, in the real world, it's often not the smart who get ahead, but the bold.
So courage plays a big part.
A huge part. Financial genius, he argues, needs both the technical know-how and the guts to act. He gives a great example of this, that Phoenix real estate deal.
Right, break that one down. How did he invent money there?
Okay, so the market was down. He found a house worth maybe $75,000 being sold at a foreclosure auction for just $20,000.
Right.
Big discount, right?
Definitely. But you still need $20,000.
True, he didn't have it. So, first bold move. He borrowed the $2,000 needed for the down payment from a friend, just enough to secure the deal temporarily.
Okay, using leverage. Smart. Then what?
Then, using his market knowledge and sales skills, the bold part again, he quickly found a buyer and advertised the house for $60,000 with no money down for the buyer.
No money down. How does that work?
He basically created a private mortgage or a note. The buyer would pay him, say, monthly installments over time. Since he only paid $20,000 for the house, using mostly the bank's money after the initial borrowed down payment was covered, and sold it for $60,000 on paper.
He instantly created a $40,000 asset, the note receivable in his corporation's name.
Exactly. That note puts money into his pocket every month. He essentially turned $2,000 of borrowed money into a $40,000 income-producing asset very quickly. That's inventing money, creating value, and structuring the deal creatively.
Wow. Okay, that takes more than just finding a cheap house. That takes skills.
Right, and that's where he aligns the 4 technical skills that make up financial IQ. You need the synergy of all 4.
What are they?
1, accounting, financial literacy. You got to be able to read and understand the numbers in a deal or a financial statement.
Makes sense.
2, investing, the science of making money, understanding different investment strategies and vehicles.
Okay. 3.
3, understanding markets. Supply and demand, yeah, but also the psychology, the emotions. Knowing when a market is hot or cold, driven by fear or greed.
And the 4th one must be?
The law. Understanding those corporate structures, tax advantages, and asset protection rules we talked about. Knowing how to use the system legally to your benefit.
Accounting, investing, markets, law. Got it. It's a combination that's powerful.
Definitely. But underpinning all that technical skill is attitude. He really hammers this home. The fear of losing money is real. It paralyzes people. But winners, he says, are not afraid of losing.
Easier said than done, though.
For sure. That's why Rich Dad's advice was, if you hate risk and worry, start early. Start investing when you're young. The amounts are smaller, the inevitable losses hurt less, and you learn resilience. You learn from the losses instead of being wiped out by them later.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together. Working on your money, not just for it, mastering assets versus liabilities, using corporate structures, inventing opportunities, building that financial IQ. What's the final overarching lesson for someone listening today?
Well, the often missed lesson 6 is probably the most profound. Work to learn, don't work for money.
Work to learn. What does that mean exactly? Isn't the point of work to earn money?
For most people, yes. But Kiyosaki argues that can be a trap, especially high specialization. If you only learn one valuable skill, you become dependent on it, vulnerable.
How so?
He gives examples like maybe a brilliant journalist who hates sales or a doctor who knows medicine but nothing about running a business or managing investments. They might earn a high income, but they lack the broader skills needed to build real wealth or weather changes in their industry. They're trapped.
Ah, so Job being an acronym for just over broke.
That's his famous line, yeah. His point is, especially when you're young, choose jobs based on the skills you will acquire, not just the paycheck. He deliberately took jobs to learn skills he knew he'd need later.
Like what?
He joined the Marines to learn leadership. He took a sales job at Xerox, even though he initially hated selling, because he knew sales and marketing are maybe the most important skills for any entrepreneur or investor.
So you need skills beyond your core profession to really get ahead financially.
Crucial skills: sales, marketing, communication, negotiation, understanding people. These let you take your technical knowledge and actually build something with it, actually invent money like in that Phoenix deal.
Okay, that ties it all together. So, for you listening, the big takeaway from this deep dive seems to be that your greatest asset isn't your house or your job, it's your mind, your financial intelligence.
Absolutely. Every day, every dollar you handle, you're making a choice.
Mm.
Are you using it to buy liabilities that take money out? Or are you trying to acquire assets, even small ones, that will eventually put money back in? You're choosing your financial future with those small decisions.
And Kiyosaki suggests that maybe the goal isn't just finding the highest paying job. Maybe the real goal is finding your unique path to financial independence, which probably involves learning things way outside the traditional school curriculum.
hmm It requires seeking out knowledge and, importantly, developing that courage to act on it.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to chew on, building on all this. If Rich Dad considered even his personal home a liability due to ongoing costs, what other things in your life, things that seem like necessary assets, maybe that expensive degree you needed for your job or the fancy car that helps project a certain image, might actually be functioning as hidden liabilities, quietly draining your cash flow month after month? Something to think about.